Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video today is going to be about, is it withdrawal or is it something else? And I don't make this video to scare people, and I'm obviously not giving medical advice in this video. I'm just sharing my personal opinions, my personal experience, and talking to like hundreds of people in the 5 years that I've been in this journey, and sort of what I've gathered and what makes sense to me at this point. So I know that there's question in the community about, is this really withdrawal? Is this a protracted withdrawal, or is this something else? And I'm not here to label what it is, but I kind of just wanted to share what I have gathered from people I've talked to who were very severe that have healed, people who are very long protracted like myself, and sort of what I've gathered over time, and just sort of my opinion on this general topic. So to me, withdrawal has never really made a lot of sense, especially the longer that I go through this, because in my mind, people who have alcohol issues or are addicted to street drugs, when they go into a withdrawal state from abrupt cessation, so an alcoholic just stops drinking cold turkey, someone who's doing hardcore drugs just stops and goes into detox, they go through an intense withdrawal, and then it's over fairly quickly, like within a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. There is a protracted withdrawal with alcohol. I know it's called PAWS, like post-acute withdrawal syndrome. I know that's the acronym now. I think that's what it stands for. But that is very different from what psych drug protracted withdrawal is. And the reason I know this is because when I took my SSRI, sorry about the noise with this closet. When I took my SSRI, I developed a fairly severe drinking problem, and at one point it got so bad that I ended up in AA, and I started seeing an alcohol counselor, and she was the one who first mentioned PAWS. So I was still on antidepressants at this time. This was back in 2014, and I took them from 2011 to 2018. So this was kind of right in the middle of my antidepressant experience. So I had learned about PAWS, like alcohol PAWS, but it's a much milder version of the initial withdrawal that you go through when you stop drinking, which is very intense, or can be very intense, especially if you're a very like severe alcoholic. But even mine was bad enough for the amount that I was a much more of a binge drinker. But it was getting really out of control. I mean, drinking morning, evening, afternoon, before, during, after work, alone, with friends, just all the time, like to cope with everything, even though I was taking antidepressants that were so-called, healing. So I knew about the post-acute withdrawal syndrome from my alcohol counselor. But with those drugs and with alcohol, it seems like when the user takes the drug again, everything goes away. And that makes sense. Your body is starving for the drug, it's starving for the alcohol, so you give it some and the symptoms go away. But that's not the case with this. So many people reinstate, like myself, and the problems get 10 times worse, or they develop akathisia, or both, like me. So that doesn't make sense to me. And I had already been off the drug for 2.5 years when I reinstated. So how could I be getting this? Or how could it not? If it was just withdrawal, why didn't it solve my problem? And why did it make things so much worse? That didn't make sense to me. That's never made any sense to me. And that seems to be the case with so many people. And I get that your nervous system can be in overdrive and start hyperreacting, but why is that? That doesn't make any sense if it's just a withdrawal state. Not only that, but I've talked to so many people, or several people, who are quite severe cases. I've talked to them personally on the phone, over video chat, and a lot of them, or several of them, healed or started healing when they started to go through like a detox process, or when they started treating their liver, or when they started cutting out all of the chemicals in their life, or removing things in their body like mercury fillings or breast implants or stuff like that it was toxic to the body. Or they started learning about detox pathways, or seeing some type of functional medicine doctor that was working on these detox pathways. I've talked to several people that that's been the case for. So to me, it kind of makes a little bit more sense that it's a toxicity thing, because throughout my journey, I have felt healed numerous times. Unfortunately, I've been in a setback now, or a wave, whatever you want to call it, for about 2 weeks. It's been pretty intense. It started not super long after I had a cold, a severe cold, actually the first cold that I've had, really real true cold since I've had akathisia. But I also was going through stress, and I was working out, which I haven't done in years. So I think it maybe is a combination of things, but it just seems like those type of things are stirring something up in the body. I don't know if it's so much of a withdrawal thing. So when I've healed or when I've gotten better, the few different times I've gotten better over these 5 years, it was always when I was really, really, really staying off of every type of chemical. So, and not only chemical, but like other types of stress, like EMF stress. So this last time when I had a break for pretty much 5 months, I was feeling better. I mean, at one point I had gotten rid of my smartphone. I was using a flip phone only, except when I was in Wi-Fi or needed to use the camera, upload a video or something. I was using a flip phone. So when I would go out, I just had a flip phone. I had no like 5G. I had no data on a smartphone. I had nothing like that. And I also was extremely, extremely cautious with what I was doing, putting in on my body, what I was cleaning with. So I wasn't using any type of cleaners. I would clean with water only. I wasn't wearing makeup for the most part. It was very rare. And I'm really careful with what type of makeup I use. So it's European-based makeup where they ban a lot of the stuff that they allow here in North America. Like I said, I was only cleaning with water. I was barely like shampooing my hair, using soap, deodorant. I mean, I was going back to like bare bones, and I was really careful with not having artificial sweeteners, MSG, chemicals in food, caffeine, just any type of known neurotoxin I was really removing. And I feel like even though I wasn't doing any type of detox protocol or anything like that, I feel like the removal of all of those chemicals, toxins, that EMF stress, chemical stress was really helping. I really feel like that's happened a couple of different times in my journey. And then when I feel better, I get careless. And I'll have, Diet Coke with artificial sweeteners because of my diabetes. And I'll start cleaning with like the commercial cleaners because they're cheaper. And I start just doing things that are more care. And to me, that is a sign of some type of toxicity. Same with when I got pregnant. I developed HELP syndrome, which is I can never remember exactly what it stands for. It's something like high enzymes and low liver platelets or something like that. It has to do with the liver. And my skin was completely yellow, like someone who is totally jaundiced, because my liver was failing. And I wonder if my excessive psychiatric drug use, my excessive alcohol use were just, making my liver toxic. And then I've been unable to detox or completely get rid of all of the toxins from these drugs and from the alcohol that I consumed so much over the years. It's just a theory again, but the people I've talked to that have recovered all seem to do something like that. The times that I've recovered have been like that. And then I just wonder, why was my liver toxic? I don't have any previous history of liver failure or cirrhosis or anything like that. So why was my liver toxic when I was pregnant? So I just think of those things, and the people who are protracted years and years and years and years, why is that? And I've read through, thousands of threads on the forums, and it seems like people who have setbacks, it's always from some type of toxin. They go back to drinking, they take an antibiotic, they take some type of painkiller, they end up breathing in some type of toxic fume, or you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem like, if it was just as simple as, the brain or the neurotransmitter, whatever needs to upregulate in the brain because they've been downregulated from the drugs. That partially makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense that someone like me could go in essentially remission for months and then it just comes back. Like, I don't feel like the healing gets undone, so to speak. And just the windows and waves. There are windows and waves. Same with through any type of grief, or when you're trying to get sober. Healing is nonlinear, but I've never really seen anything that's quite like this. So I just wonder. And then there's those people who only take 1 pill or 3 pills and they're toxic. Like, they end up with pacing akathisia for, a year or 2 years or 3 years. And that makes no sense to me. How could you only take a couple of doses and your nervous system just blows up? Like, that's obviously not a withdrawal reaction. It's an adverse reaction. But why are you adversely reacting? I just question it. And let me know your thoughts in the comments on this. Does withdrawal make sense to you? Does toxicity make more sense to you? And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm not saying that it's, oh, you're doomed now because you're toxic. There are lots of people who have healed from it. But it seems like they're doing something to heal their guts and heal their livers and their organs, and they're trying to open up pathways, and they stay away from anything toxic. And the cessation of anything pharma and anything over the counter, any type of something that's simulated or created artificially, it seems like these people all take that out of their diet, out of their environments, and they get better. So let me know your thoughts on this. It's just something that, I mean, I've obviously been through all types of research, talking to hundreds of people. All of these thoughts have went through my head for the past 5 years since I first quit my first SSRI. And withdrawal just doesn't make sense to me anymore. So I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.